Hello, I'm Gillian Alexander, and you'll know me from Sacred Touch Limited now. Okay, I'm going to be speaking about shame at the moment, and I'm purposely recording this before I've put any other makeup on or anything else like that. You'll see in most of my other clips I have actually put makeup on. Interestingly, most of the time I don't wear makeup. So I don't know. I used to wear it when I was younger, and it doesn't really do anything for me now. I'm not that interested in wearing makeup. Sometimes I like putting some eye makeup on. I've got quite long eyelashes, but you can never see them until I've got mascara on, so it's just fun to me. And I've been watching and exploring. I've been watching and exploring within myself, and then watching and exploring with other people around about shame and how it defines us, or how we allow it to define us, and how we allow it to create no-go zones within our life. So I'm going to start just by being really open and vulnerable with myself in this space, and I may and may not get brave enough to actually share this post publicly, but I suspect I probably will. So, just as I am now without any makeup on, often we use makeup to disguise aspects of ourselves that we find unacceptable. To be honest, the lighting at the moment, you probably couldn't see anything anyway on my face, or not fully anyway. But you can see enough for us to maybe just go into an exploration around this. So I remember when I was a teenager, I had very oily skin and consequently got definite spots on my face and stuff like that. And I remember my mother saying at the time, "Oh, you'll like it when you get older. You know, it's oily skin ages much better." And I suspect she's absolutely correct. It increases the elasticity in the skin, and it's much more gentle. But interestingly for me now, even in my adulthood, if I have to be an adult now, I still, you can see one here, I still get spots on my skin sometimes, and it's usually when just a lot is going on in my body. I definitely notice my skin and my hair gets more oily at times, and it's just almost like stuff's just clearing out my body. When I was doing my massage therapy training, I remember being told to advise clients that sometimes they might find that their sweat became more pungent, even their urine and their feces became more pungent and more smelly. So it was more toxins cleared out the body. Some people can have quite strong reactions in that way, and it can be a bit of a shock if they're not expecting it. So I'm used to that process going on, and as many of you will be as well. So yes, I in my teens I certainly used to use foundation. Speaking to a Spanish friend, she used to just be amazed at British people's use of, I can't remember how she described it, that stuff you put on your skin. Because really, when you look at what we're doing, it's clogging all the pores up, and it cannot be good for us. And yet it's all about clearing up, sort of hiding any blemishes. Now we just do that, take a photograph and do it with Photoshop. And I mean, you only have to go back a couple of hundred years before people used to remember the paintings where people's faces were very pale. Apparently that was done with a delightful mix of beeswax and white lead. White lead wasn't good for your skin, but I think at that stage it was particularly used to cover the sort of the holes in the skin created after smallpox, because smallpox was very commonly, if you managed to survive it, then you were left with these very, very big marks on the skin. I think is there not some story that was something to do with why Queen Elizabeth I always has her face whitened and obviously that became a fashion then. So yeah, but the delight of that is obviously lead was hugely toxic. So you were sticking that onto your skin and it was getting absorbed in through the skin. And one of the other things I love about that was that if you go around some country houses, particularly the really old ones, you'll see there's usually embroidered or tapestry things. I thought they were fire guards. Well, they are fire guards of a sort, but they stand up on a stand. So basically women would use these to guard between them and the fire, so the face didn't melt, because obviously the beeswax, when you got close to the fire, would melt and your whole face would melt. Interesting. But that's a perfect example. So even though the white lead would probably speed up their death, it was better than going out and allowing others to see these marks from the smallpox. Or I don't know whether it was, I mean, I think it was also a fashion statement. So just having a very pale skin showed that you didn't go out in the sun, and your skin didn't get all darkened in the sun like working people or poor people. So that's a fair cost to be paying, to actually poison yourself just so that you meet what you perceive as the criteria of our society to fit in. So how many other times are we doing this? And we'll all have different answers to that question, but it's such an interesting one to start asking. What else are you doing in your own life, and what choices are you making in your own life about how much of you share with others for fear of their judgment, for fear of exclusion from society, for fear of even just exclusion from your family, or most of it is our own judgment as well. So we'll see the problems where we see the problems being. So this may be in terms of, I don't know, I mean, what we like to do in our spare time. I'm sure that I love passion wherever I see passion. So even if I don't find something interesting that somebody else is finding interesting, passion is contagious. So I remember going to the Bulldog Bash, which is a bikers festival down south, and apparently it's run by the Hells Angels. I mean, I think I was kind of aware of that, and I went with a friend at the time, and I mean, he was passionate about bikes and some. And we pitched our tent, and we had to pitch it right next to the drag run so that we got more fumes. So you can imagine, to be honest, I don't like the smell of sort of fumes like that, but I just loved that passion. I loved being around that passion. And in myself, I wouldn't necessarily be passionate about motorbikes, but I loved that weekend. It was just great going around, and I was just surrounded by people who were utterly passionate about bikes. And it was so contagious, and just fascinating. And my son was, I can't remember what age my son. I think he was maybe about 10. So the topless bike washers were fascinating to him too, and he just loved it. So I was just surrounded by people who were passionate about the experience they were having. So what's not to love about that? So yes, so for somebody that's just loves what they're doing. But then stamp collectors, I don't quite get what's exciting about stamp collecting, but I do see that people find it fascinating and they really like it. So it's great sort of watching people like that. But if there's judgment, I mean, another one, train spotting. How often are train spotters judged? for sort of going around in supposedly dirty old Macs and, you know, having no life and being geeks or whatever. And actually, I'm quite sure there's lots of people out there who are just really interested in trains, and who are perfectly interesting people in their own right. And yeah, so, but what happens when we start thinking, okay, something that we're passionate about isn't okay, and that we have to hide it somehow? And so, okay, I'm really interested in trains, but train spotting's not okay. Train spotting's, there's something wrong about train spotters. And suddenly we get shifty about it, and we maybe don't engage in something that really gives us an interest and joy. So that's a fairly clear and non-contentious example. What happens when it becomes more sensitive topics? Our erotic passions, something that we're interested in and we would like to explore, but it's seen by society as not being okay. And in that process of avoiding it, or engaging it, but engaging it in secret because we're ashamed of it on some level, or we think others will judge us in some level, we bind ourselves. So we either bind ourselves by avoiding, or we bind ourselves into it by engaging it, but in secret. And I've also seen people who brazen it out. So it's like, okay, this isn't acceptable because they're judging it as not acceptable. So, but I'm going to do it anyway, and watch me. They bind themselves in the same way that way. So we either create no-go zones or very, very sticky zones in our lives. So I'd really invite you to start exploring your own world. What fires you up? What are you interested in? What do you just want to go and sort of see what it's about? What are you curious about? And if you're not exploring that, why? And if you are exploring that, how is that for you? And if you're being secretive about it, again, why? So, and I'm going to come back round again, since we've got an opportunity to see me in all my glory, all my spottiness. And I just, it's interesting for me. I can't even remember where I read it, but there's something about these ridges. And it's something to do with toxins in your system. And I've done loads of liver cleanses and stuff like that. I'm going to do another one come Saturday. And I actually do look after my body. I'm pretty good with my body. And even this stuff here, these kind of lines here, I actually like the lines on my face because it shows that I've lived. It's funny, these ones under here I really do quite like, because it's like they're smile marks. I mean, look at it. So my face moves when I express myself. But I know that this one, every now and then I sort of think, should I must frown a lot. And this one, you know, if I'm really so sorted, why have I still got so many toxins in my body? But I have, apparently, if that's true, and maybe it isn't. And so it's interesting, maybe just get a mirror out for yourself and just have a look at what you see in the mirror. Same as me, without your makeup on. And up here you can see sort of, there's a lot of grey hairs under. I henna my hair every now and then, but there's quite a lot of grey hairs underneath there. And I like hennaing my hair because it upsets my son, because now it's not trendy to be a ginger. So I like being a ginger just to be awkward. So, okay, my lovelies, thank you. And if I'm sharing this with you, I'm being brave. Maybe go and do the same for yourselves. There's lots of beautiful treasures in your world just ready to be uncovered. And most of them are in the very, very rich ground of places we call shame. Okay, thank you. Bye.